This is the part of the program in which we hear an inspirational presentation. And we are so fortunate this year. We've had great presentations in the past, but we do not just have one speaker, we have three. And they're coming up to the podium right now. You're in for a big treat because many of you in this room know about the Hallberg family. Ada and Bob Hallberg are legends in this community. And it is my honor to introduce to you the three Hallberg sisters, Allie, Nancy, and a member of our board, Tia Hallberg. Would you please welcome the Hallberg sisters?
Very humbling following Dave Beck. So please excuse us and have patience. We're just an ordinary West Seattle family. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you so much for turning out to this great setting and this grand occasion. And as Clay said, my name's Tia Hallberg.
And I'm Nancy Hallberg.
And I'm Allison Hallberg. So for just a few moments, we want to tell you a little bit about our story, our West Seattle story. And of course, we trust that you'll find some of your own story in ours. We've all gathered here today for a common purpose, and that purpose is to share and to celebrate and to support the heritage of this wonderful peninsula that we call home.
Of course, the core of our story is our parents, Bob and Ada Hallberg. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Their mom and dads brought them to Alki. They were raised on Alki. They met at Alki and fell in love on Alki, and indeed raised their family on Alki. And they then spent their final years, right? On Alki.
Over the view and a big raft out in the water for kids to play on. And they were in complete awe. They thought they had arrived in paradise.
Our mom and dad were about 14 when they met each other at a youth group at Alki Church. Later, as young adults, they fell in love, and they did just about everything together. They walked the beach together and jumped on the logs. Our dad rode our mom on the handlebars of his bicycle, and our mom roller skated on the promenade. Mom loved to go to Richie's drugstore and order a Green River. And decades later, they would pop into the bakery that is at the same place as Richie's and order a Green River and then laugh when the person didn't know what they were talking about.
Well, Richie's was an important gathering place for a lot of reasons. And my mom used to tell a story about how the kids would gather there during World War II. And my dad was a merchant marine overseas in Japan. There was a list of the names of the boys who were missing or had been killed. One day, one of the boys in the neighborhood saw my dad's name on the list, ran to tell my mother. And it was days later before my mother knew that my dad had survived. And when Dad did come back to Alki, of course, they eventually married.
That was in the when they were in their mid-20s in 1948. That same year, our grandfather, John Woodhouse, pushed them offshore on a saltwater adventure. They took a small boat more than 40 miles south all the way to our family cabin in the Long Branch Peninsula. This was a really big, long, risky trip for a couple of newlyweds. When darkness fell, a tugboat, sensing their danger in the Tacoma Narrows, took them aboard and took them to Gig Harbor to sleep on the ship for the night.
In the 50s and 60s, along came 5 children. The 3 of us and our brother Bob and our late brother Per. From the beginning, Mom and Dad taught us by example. They liked people. They had a lot of respect for people, people from all walks of life. For them, reaching out was a natural thing. And really, without thinking about it, they created community.
Just like their own parents, our mom and dad liked all the same things about the beach, like the ritual of gathering firewood. Our grandpa had a competition with the original Alki rebel, Phil Cease. The competition was over firewood. On Saturday morning at 5:30 a.m., instead of staying in bed, my grandpa would phone my father and say, "Bob, a big one came in last night. Get down here right away. I gotta get it before Phil." The basement on Marine Avenue was crammed full of saltwater firewood from floor to ceiling. They heated the house with the wood stove, and their walkway from the sidewalk to the front door was made of cobblestones from the beach.
Soon we moved to Angeline Street, just off of Beach Drive, near Emma Schmidt's Memorial Viewpoint. Some people know it as South Alki. Those were the days when it wasn't a big deal to swim in somebody else's beach, on somebody else's beach. In fact, whole gangs of kids, just that. No one said, "You can't be here, kids," or "You're not welcome." Everyone was welcome. And our mom, dad, and in fact, everyone at Alki fostered that feeling of togetherness.
This was just one of the ways, as the decades passed, that we learned about commitment to community. Whether it was Mom's passion for peace and justice, or their partnership in preserving single-family housing in the face of massive development along the beach, it was community that was important. To us, the cherished people in their circles became legendary, even though we might not have ever known any of them. Betty Brewster, of course, Mary Lou Richardson, the Vineys. And there's so many more, and I think many of you are in this room. If not, you may have ancestors who they've mentioned.
Community was also about building lifelong friendships in this area. In that sense, there's nothing anywhere else like this place. Here, you talk with your friends you had in grade school, junior high, high school, or maybe your parents' friends from high school, Wanda. Whether you grew up here, moved here recently, or used to live here, you work here, have relatives here. We could see those roots in our parents as they would sit on the beach at Emma Smith Memorial Viewpoint and watch the sunset. With a reverence and twinkle in their eyes, they would say, "Shh, this is God's country, Ada. Let's not tell anyone."
For about 10 or 12 years, all three of us tried other places to live. My husband and I tried Malaysia and India.
I tried Texas and the East Coast.
I've lived a few places, Oregon and California, Europe and Indonesia. But I always came back here to West Seattle, like my siblings and like my family. And I think like many of you in this room. Today, I'm grateful to live at my parents' home right off of Beach Drive, where I plan to stay.
My family just lives a few houses up at the end of the block.
And I live near Lincoln Park, and my brother lives between us.
So many of us from West Seattle do come back here. And the things that hold us are many, but the land and the sea are certainly powerful. I still, sometimes when I come home from work, I'll take Charleston, just so that I can enjoy the fantastic view. And like my father and like my uncle before me, I am in complete awe of this place. I wanted just to mention that of all the places I've been in the world, this is the best.
This is why we, just like our parents, we three sisters got involved in the Historical Society. The work that everybody in this organization does is preserving photos and the memories and the truly historic, one-of-a-kind buildings is so very important.
It's all about bringing people together for a common purpose. And what we are doing today, right now, in this room, is fundamental to our happiness, satisfaction with life, and the sense of well-being. We know that the heritage we share, that we celebrate and support, has value to us, and one day will have deep value to young people who may not realize it yet. Young people like we were, like all of us were.
Think back to when you were a child. Your story is different than ours, but we do all have common threads of gratitude. And somehow those threads have become the ties that bind. They've brought us all here today to West Seattle. We hope that you found some of yourselves too in our story, and we thank you again so much for coming. Just like Ada and Bob, we hope that you will give this organization your full support. Thank you.